News coming in from New York. The Deputy Consul General at the Indian Consulate, Devyani Khobragade, has been arrested.
Well, this was reportedly on visa fraud charges. This after she allegedly presented the US State Department with fraud documents in support of a visa application of an Indian national employed by her. Now, Khobragade has been charged with one count of visa fraud and one count of making false statements, which carry maximum sentence of 10 years and 5 years in prison.
Handcuffed while dropping her daughter to school earlier on Thursday, Khobragade was released on a bail of $250,000. Khobragade was charged for allegedly making and presenting false statements in a visa application to the US Department of State for an Indian national employed as a babysitter and housekeeper. Her lawyer's first line of defense will be diplomatic immunity and says such a public arrest of an Indian diplomat is unprecedented. Meanwhile, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney pleaded said foreign nationals brought to the United States to serve as domestic workers are entitled to the same protections against exploitation as those afforded to the United States citizens. The false statements and fraud alleged to have occurred here were designed to circumvent those protections so that a visa would be issued for a domestic worker who was promised far less than a fair wage. This type of fraud in the United States and exploitation of an individual will not be tolerated. Now, in a response to the media query, the Indian Embassy has stated, "We have been informed that a Deputy Consul General of India in New York, while she was dropping her daughter at school, Dr. Khobragade, was later released that same evening. Action was apparently taken against Khobragade on the basis of allegations raised by the officer's former India-based domestic assistant, Ms. Sangeeta Richard, who has been absconding since June this year. In this context, the Delhi High Court had issued an interim injunction in September to restrain Ms. Richards from instituting any actions or proceedings against Khobragade outside India on the terms or conditions of her employment. The U.S. government had subsequently been requested to locate Ms. Richard and facilitate the service of an arrest warrant.
Please do not think that there was a lack of awareness. There was already a judicial recourse taken by that young Indian woman diplomat. There is a court judgment from that case which has been given. So let us not jump to conclusions about lack of knowledge. There is enough knowledge, there is a legal process, and in this case she did follow that process. But please try and understand that at this stage we do not want to get into further details and try and explain to you the entire expanse, because this case will be made. It will be made forcefully, it will be made clearly, and we will try and resolve this issue.